Definitely want to hold on to this guy. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, I would like to apologize a little bit for our videos running somewhat out of sequence. I know some of you were expecting this demonstration, which was the stopping power of 44 Magnum, but due to some range construction at our outdoor facility and the weather, we're a little bit behind. So we're going to catch up right away with the stopping power of the 44 Magnum fired from a handgun. In a subsequent video, we're going to compare it to what happens when you fire one out of a lever action rifle, which I think some people might be a little more interested in. It's a great hunting caliber and caught on right away. If you watched our video that covered the history of the 44, it was one of the things that drove it to prominence was its ability to be used in a rifle. What we have is our normal setup, if you're not familiar with the channel, which is basically we're going to run a mock FBI test. However, we're going to use 15% ballistic gel instead of 10. I'll try to call out the chrono readings as I can, or as Matt helps me remember them, but sometimes we do get some mixed results, so don't hang your hat on the feet per second, because sometimes I just mess it up. One of the weapons I've selected for testing today is a Magnum Research International Desert Eagle. I think most people are already familiar with that. If you can get the chance to fire one, you absolutely should. Remarkable weapon. However, before we begin, I would like to talk a little bit about ammo selection for that particular pistol. On the table, I have a big game cartridge designed for the 44 Remington Magnum. And as it turns out, because of its weight and added overall length, it does not fit into the magazine of the Desert Eagle. For those of you guys that are familiar with 44 or the Desert Eagle, you know that manufacturers make rounds specifically for the Desert Eagle based on their overall length. One of the ways you can get maximum stopping power is a heavier projectile, which typically means a longer projectile. So if you're in a pinch and you own a Desert Eagle, be very careful about the ammo you select, because it could in fact not cycle in your gun or even load into the magazine. So without any further wasted time, let's see what happens when the 44 Rem Mag hits some ballistic gel. I've arranged a steel plate behind the gel, so if you can hear a little bit of a tink after I shoot, that would be a completely pass-through gel block and into the steel. A little bit of audio reference for you at home. So let's get started. The ammunition that I've selected today represents a pretty common range of 44 Magnum recipes. The first one will be a 240 grain round nose sort of range round made by Ammo Incorporated. The other one will be a PMC 180 grain jacketed hollow point. The first one from Ammo Inc. runs about 1450 feet per second, supposedly on the box, and the jacketed hollow point runs at 1750. Being lighter, that's what you would expect. One of the interesting things about 44 is there is a wide array of projectiles available for it, and before we're done, we'll talk about some potential hand-loading projectiles if you're into that sort of thing. So, let's get started. First one will be the Ammo Incorporated. And as always, I will try to call out the chronos. And if you hear steel, obviously that means it went right on through. Weapon is off safe. I'm going to try to keep this one towards the top middle of the gel block. That was 1277. I'm going to put the weapon on safe and go take a look at some gel block. Yep, you can see her entering here and all the way out. That one actually might have kind of went on a high enough trajectory to miss the steel, but I can assure you straight on through, which is exactly what you would expect. The next one will be the little hotter, the Bronze Hunting from PMC Ammunition, and it's posted at 1750 feet per second. So I'm going to try to keep it a little bit lower on the gel block and see if it gets stopped, which I highly doubt. Weapon on safe. Clear him out. Speed is 1384. So out of the 5-inch barrel, what we're noticing is don't get near the speed that they post. And it looks like, if you can see this, right dead center of this one, right at the end of the 20-inch, it's probably beyond 20 inches, but the jacketed hollow point did stay in the gelatin block. It's unclear about whether or not it actually opened up right now, but if you see me point, and one heck of a cavitation and wound channel. So, when you buy ammunition and you see something posted on the box, it's rarely stated what length of barrel developed that speed and power. We're using the 5-inch barrel out of the Desert Eagle, so you will notice a reduction in performance, bearing in mind most 44 Magnums are revolvers, Model 29s, etc., and they do have a longer barrel, sometimes 6 to 8 inches. However, they do make it in a 4. So I wouldn't panic if you notice a little bit slower feet per second, totally to be expected. Now what we're going to do is put the big game round in one time. I can't load multiple rounds of it in the magazine like we talked because of the overall length, but I can get one in, and let's see what happens when we have the maximum power of 44 mag. This is from Federal, 280 grains. They call it an A-frame. Before we begin, let me try to see if I can find what's posted on here. So they're talking 1170 feet per second out of this guy. Let's see how close we can get with this particular pistol. According to the box, this round moves slower and has significantly less foot-pounds of energy because of the heavy projectile. Let's see if we notice a difference in recoil. Felt about the same. $10.99, so that's the closest to advertised. And you can see he had the exact same penetration as the jacketed hollow point. Both of them did stay in the gel block. We'll post a link to some pictures when we get them dug out and see how much they expanded. As you can tell, significant recoil impulse, significant power with 44 Rem Mag, but that is why you buy them, obviously. One of the takeaways that I would have from this demonstration so far is, 1, for hunting purposes, the gun is shootable. Number 2, the bullets actually didn't over-penetrate as I expected. I even had put some steel at the end of the range hoping to hear some dings. The only one that didn't was the non-jacketed hollow point or non-hunting projectile. So, oddly enough, you can see why it is such a popular hunting round, because it dumps a significant amount of energy into the target, at least in gel block, without over-penetration. A truly lethal round. I'm totally impressed, not only from the hunting standpoint, and not obviously then in self-defense capabilities. Probably has no rival. Like we've done in previous videos, while we're doing the stopping power, we always like to do a cylinder or a mag dump to see what the shootability characteristics are of the particular caliber. What I've done is load 6 into the Desert Eagle's magazine. We're going to use the ammo incorporated rounds for it, and we'll see how I can control the gun. We're going to put a clock on it like we always do, Bear in mind, I'm not used to shooting this gun. The gun was provided to us by our good friends at Buffalo Trading Company, as well as all of the ammo for the demonstration. The Desert Eagle has a little bit of a clunky trigger that I prefer. It doesn't mean it's a bad one, it just means I'm not used to it. So if you don't hear a lot of steel hit, that's probably not the gun. It's my inexperience, one, not only with that particular firearm, but shooting that large of a caliber to begin with. Not something that I typically do, so I might get exposed, and that's okay. Let's see how it goes. Take this guy off a safe. We're going to try for 6 of them. Definitely want to hold on to this guy. Looks like maybe one miss. Okay, it's hard to tell when you're holding on for dear life. Very fun firearm though, very, very cool. I hope you've had as much fun watching the video as I've had shooting the Desert Eagle. One of the things I've learned is, in fact, that's a controllable gun, even with 44 Magnum power. Very interesting machine, and I highly suggest those who are on the fence about getting one, you should. I'm a fan. Very, very interesting weapon. Before we conclude, I'd like to talk one more option people have related to the 44 Magnum, which is hand loading and sort of detuning the power. What I have here is a self-made 44 cartridge, and you'll notice it has a very odd looking sort of wad cutter in it, which is actually this, and I've even seen people turn them the other way, so the hollowed out portion, I've even seen people load them that way. Really doesn't make any difference. Back in the day, there was a theory that that might make it a little more of a man stopper, but I highly doubt it. You have a lot of options with this caliber to hunt for self-defense. Semi-automatic guns now, obviously revolvers. I'm becoming more and more of a fan of the 44 Remington Magnum, and I'm sure that will continue when we test it in a rifle. It's always made a lot of sense for me to hunters to have rifle calibers chambered in the same handgun caliber they happen to be carrying. That goes back to the Old West. Cowboys kind of knew that instinctively, and I'm starting to learn why. Great caliber, and I've had a lot of fun talking about its capabilities. Now let's shoot it out of the rifle with the same ammo and see what happens.